Honorable Yusuf Sununu, who is the chairman, House Committee on Health Services, as well as Dr. Aliyu Sokomba, president of NARD. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today on the program. Let me start with you, Honorable. Now, meeting that was held yesterday to see how they could assuage those frayed nerves and ensure that things don't go awry. If you were to, how successful is it? Where are we now? Are the doctors going to stay action?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me once more this morning to discuss this important issue. The issue is very important because it touched on average Nigerian. In Nigeria, the healthcare services seems to be expensive, and over 90% of it is out of pocket. And this out of pocket is both for consultation, purchase, and rest. So now the economy has gone down due to lockdown and locking down of economy. And the threat, we also have a threat of COVID-19. And then we also have the threat of withdrawal of services by the National Association of Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. So this put us in a very tight corner, and everybody must work to ensure that the life of common man is protected. Now, based on this, we received their notice of strike, I think 2 days ago, around 3:30. And I have to rush quickly to inform Mr. Speaker, who's also double at Sadauki Yahudi, so that we can quickly intervene. And his own disposition, being a proactive leader, he immediately gave a directive that we should summon for an emergency meeting. Regrettably, the issues that were discussed has been in the front burner in our discussion since the House was inaugurated. We started right from August, and since then we have been dealing with issues that appear to be recurrent, and which the House believe that solution is there and we can reach a solution. But before I really conclude on the outcome of the meeting, really we must also say what are the really grudges. The issue also have to be with the funding of residency program. And I'd like people to understand, when you say a residency program, most Nigerians do not understand what residency program means. It is just a specialized package for doctors who aspire to acquire skill, administrative capacity, and then the discipline to operate safely, independently on their own as consultant or specialist, and to be able to impart such knowledge, acquire skill and discipline to the younger one, so that we can continue to produce specialists in the country. And this is the program that we are playing with. To us, it serves as a bedrock. And Nigeria has been training not only Nigerians in residency program. We are training virtually all the West African countries, and even some other foreign nationals that comes to Nigeria to do their specialty programs. So the issue is that an act was passed to guide the implementation of residency program in the country, and this credit must go to Honorable Distinguished Senator Nambit Apiafi for her insistence that the continuous industrial action that is hampering the progress of healthcare in the country must be addressed. And the only way we can address it is to have a legal framework that will address the training of residency program. And that was achieved in 2017. But the implementation became an issue. So since we came, we have been battling with that. The Act seems went to guide the entry, disengagement, and procedures to be conducted for one to be a consultant. And it gives the right of supervision of that act to the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria. Now, the funding is supposed to come through IPPIS using the personal cost of each individual. But unfortunately, since after our meeting, the directives agreement was signed so that the funding will be included in the personnel cost of each and each individual resident doctor, so that it should be captured in medium-term expenditure framework for the budget of the following year. Unfortunately, that was not done in 2019. It was not done in 2020, and we are also now in we are preparing for 2021. So this is one of their major grudges. And then secondly, the issue of hazard allowance that's recently reviewed, and also the issue of disengaging resident doctors by the University of Just Teaching Hospital without following the laid down regulation as specified in the Act. And then among others also were the issue of the arrears that accrue over time due to minimum wage and also due to consequential adjustment of salaries of house officers. Well, there are other issues that may be highlighted by this thing. Now, what was achieved so far? Immediately they told us all the resident doctors from Jos University Teaching Hospital, to our knowledge, except 2, were all re-engaged, and the other 2 directive was given during the meeting that they should be immediately recalled pending the information coming from National Postgraduate College, and the CMD has assured me he's going to comply. So that is one of the issues that are achieved. We also look at the issue of personal protective equipment that really the National Association of Resident Doctors working serious to see that to achieve its availability. This I cannot fault them. We have over 200 and something, and then other health care professionals who are also frontliners. They were infected. Though we identified it's not only the availability, as the minister said, there is also issue of training, how to rationally use those personal protective equipment. But the major issue, the availability, is of concern. The meeting yesterday, we were told in that meeting that the DG, Director General of Nigeria Center of Disease Control and Protection, has distributed personal protective equipment to the state hospitals and the isolation centers and all the tertiary health institutions within the country. We do hope that will come to see. And then one good thing about it also, in the 2020 budget, sum of money was also allocated for the procurement of personal protective equipment. Now, the other issue is the hazard allowance. In that meeting, it was a joint meeting, Ministry, Budget Office, and then the House. Chairman House Appropriation Committee was there. Chairman Ad hoc Committee on COVID was also there.
We'll get more perspectives from you in a moment. But
with all the evidence.
Okay, let me just bring in Dr. Sokomba here as well. So tell us, having attended that meeting, first of all, has the strike been put on hold pending when all of this conversation is over?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Well, I want to begin by especially appreciating the Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and the various health-related committee chairmen of the National Assembly for swiftly wading into the issue of the industrial action of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors with the aim of getting the matters resolved. I will also want to tell us the scope of the intervention yesterday. Because of the nature of the federalism we practice in this country, where the National Assembly do not have any jurisdiction over state government, the plight of our members at the various state tertiary hospitals were not looked into, unfortunately. But unfortunately, again, our members are composed of doctors from both federal tertiary institutions as well as state tertiary institutions. Therefore, the challenges of doctors across the various state tertiary hospitals, ranging from the indiscretional slash of salaries of doctors in Kaduna State, of doctors in Kogi State, the non-payment of salary and old arrears of doctors at the various state tertiary hospitals like the Abia State University Teaching Hospital, the Imo State University Teaching Hospital, the Gombe State University, the Lautech Ogbomosho, Lautech Oshogbo, and all other various tertiary hospitals in the states remain unattended to, unfortunately, because of the jurisdiction of the Right Honorable Speaker to get the state government to do the needful. Having said that, I want to appreciate the Right Honourable Speaker once again for his swift intervention. The issues...
Can we then say that at the moment, while all of these negotiations and conversations are going on, the right thing is to hold the strike off?
Well, the decision to hold the strike off is will be discussed by the general at the general meeting, which I intend to convey anytime soon, so that we can present the discussions that have taken place between the association and the National Assembly with the view of getting this industrial action resolved. At the moment, most of the discussions we have had are work in progress. Some of these discussions have timeline within this week to be realized, and we are hoping that these discussions and these promises will see the light of the day while our ultimatum lasts. And the decision to finally suspend or postpone the ultimatum will be taken at a general meeting I intend to convey today at the shortest possible time.
Okay, good to hear that. But gentlemen, we also did get across to, there were other members in the health sector who attended that meeting as well. So now we've got Dr. Obinna Ogbonna, who is the National President, National Union of Allied Health Professionals. Good morning. He joins us via Skype, as Zoom, as you might see. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Now, having conveyed this meeting, the leadership of the House of Representatives trying to see how they can address all of this, how are you hoping that this will strengthen things, including perhaps the concerns that your sector, your union, have in the health sector?
Well, we want to thank the government for standing up to their responsibility now, because in the time past, we've made several incursions, several advances on the government to look into the health sector, the structural and infrastructural facilities, and the decaying obsolete materials or equipment that we have. But it fell on deaf ear. But thank God for COVID-19 that is trying now to create the awareness and consciousness, and the government is trying to respond as it were. So I want to put it on record that the health workers are not strike mongers. They are not just there to waste away, but they are there to render services to an average Nigerian. And if we do not have the enabling environment to render our services effectively, then it calls for us to make to make it known and to call on the government to do something. But now that the government is trying to respond, we are still watching, because it's not only talking or making promises that matters, but implementing and making sure that those agreements that have been made or that have been reached are implemented. We have several agreements that are still yet or haphazardly implemented as we speak. So for the National Assembly to have taken it up now, and even to the level of the presidency, well, we hope that actions will be taken in the right direction, so that other healthcare professionals, like in my union now, so that we also will not join in the strike, because it's going to be devastating on the Nigerian citizens, considering the present pandemic situation we are going through. This is not a good time for any strike, and government should not give the health workers reasons why we should go on strike. The basic protective equipment that we are talking about that should protect the lives of the frontline workers are not there. Many of our members are already infected, and some of them are in the isolation centers. More than 500 of them now are infected. And presently, as I speak with you, some of them are even dead. They've passed on. And we are waiting for the implementation of the insurance coverage, life insurance coverage for those who are alive and those who have gone. Their families are put in, they are put in disarray now. So that's why we need the government to be fast about whatever they want to implement, and implement it accordingly.
Okay? We'll find out if they can be fast on some of those decisions that you've requested. But that will be, we'll continue this conversation in a moment. Join us again. All right, welcome back. Continuing our conversation on the immediate and remote causes of some of the industrial and planned action that we have experienced, hopefully may not experience in the days ahead. We'll find out. A lot may be dependent on this meeting that is going on with the House of Representatives leadership and the health sector. Honorable Sununu, now this may be a long drawn one. There is a long list of demands that different health sector unions have had previously, unattended to. As a matter of fact, as you did hear, Dr. Ogbonna said, well, Dr. Sokomba did also say, some of the states have challenges that have not been attended to. How far-reaching is this meeting going to go in addressing the challenges? Yes, there's an immediate call by the NARD, but is it also going to eventually look into some of these other demands and ensure that things are done properly?
Well, thank you very much. I think the most important is those of us who are saddled with responsibility to protect life and properties of average Nigeria to be up to our responsibilities. Government representatives in negotiations must ensure that whenever they are signing or appending their signature on anything, is something that can be implementable. Now, even Mr. Speaker expressed his dismay. There is no reason why we called all the stakeholders, finance, health, budget office, and rest, to come and reach an agreement. But that agreement will not see the light of day. And now there is also another agreement in the signed by the representative of government through the instrument of Ministry of Labor with other various associations in health under the offices of Ministry of Health. Now, I think where we a bit got issues difficult was the fact that in some certain aspects, they would be told that money will be available. Now, everybody in this country knows money needs to be appropriated before it can be expended. And this appropriation, luckily when Mr. President thought of reviewing the budgetary allocation, a budget that was passed for the 2020, those demands, especially the hazard allowance, personal protective equipment, were also included in that budget. So the simple idea is that those can only be disbursed after the National Assembly finish deliberation on the budget, pass it, and then President assent to it to become an act. So these are the basic things. So I think there is need for us to give the right information so that will guide expectations and what have you for those who are signing those MOU. But the issue that we were discussing earlier, that issue that's under the House leadership is something that has took time. And we expect that over time, over the last 8 months that we have been discussing, we should have overcome a lot of issues. But unfortunately, that could not see the light of the day. A major issue people related to the COVID. But even Mr. Speaker made it clear that there should be issues that are
quickly follow up on that,
if
on
you
what you
know
just
that
raised
you have
now.
an issue.
Just one moment, Honorable. Just one moment. If I can just quickly follow up on what you just said. Now, you said you've been discussing this for the past 8 months or thereabout. Now, that's perhaps not strange to some people and shocking to many, because you would recall that this issue of challenges in the health sector, especially that of doctors and all of that, is age long. You would remember in the late 80s that there was this talk about brain drain all over the nation, and so many doctors had to leave Nigeria, and many of them are doing very well in various parts of the world. That has cost us a tremendous amount of mental capacity in Nigeria. You also recall what the chairman of the PTF COVID-19 said, that he didn't know that the issues we had in the health sector was this bad. If it has taken 8 months to converse, just to discuss the solutions, how far-reaching do you think your committee or this National Assembly can do in ensuring that things are done to end all of this problem as soon as possible?
I think the House leadership is resolving now to hit the gavel rightly. Those who ever try to hinder the progress of this nation must be told what they have done, and the House must also be able to stand firm on any recommendation they are going to pass, because nobody should lose his life just because certain agreements that were duly signed, not under duress, could not be executed by the arm that agree that does. And we all agree, including the National Assembly, that the demand were genuine, the demand were lawful because they are guided by the Act of National Assembly, and the demand are justified. Now the only thing we just do is to ensure that those factors that are hinging on the implementation of those agreements are looked into further, and we state our final decision. And then the other issue is to know that those of us that are responsible should put it in their own distance. Strike is not the best for any country, and anybody is a potential victim of consequences of strike. Those who are partaking in the strike are potential victims. Those who refuse to do what they are supposed to do at the right time so that the strike can be abated are also potential victims. As we are now, most of our private facilities are locked down because of the fear of COVID-19. So what we have now is the public hospital. Now, if we allow this public hospital to shut down, what will happen to us? Nobody can go out of this country to seek for care. You can't say that you can invite a doctor to your house, but I assure you that will not provide the adequate care that you may demand. So that's why we must all wake up and see ourselves victim of those circumstances.
You know, Honorable Sonunu, I recall Dr. Ogbonna saying in his opening speech earlier on that it's not as though, you know, they enjoy going on strike. So, I mean, you saying that it's understandable, but for them also, it's not as though they really want to. But let me take this to Dr. Sokomba, because, I mean, even the speaker yesterday had to say, well, this is not the first time we've had this meeting. We've had this severally. And you mentioned that, for Honorable Sonunu, that you're planning to hit the gavel hard this time around. So let's see if we can hit the right area. So, Dr. Sokomba, this has been long drawn. What has been responsible for this going back and forth over time? Because we don't want to finish with this one, and in the next few months again, you say, well, we're given another 14-day ultimatum, we are going on strike again. So what are those areas we need to hit the gavel on, as it were?
Thank you very much. I want to reiterate what the Chairman House Committee on Health Services has just stated, that we have been on these issues as much as they remain germane, and everybody has agreed that there are germane demands that should be met. Agreements are usually reached freely and voluntarily. And to our dismay, when these agreements are reached, they are never implemented. The last agreement we reached was signed 8 months ago with clear deadlines for these agreements to be implemented. And unfortunately, because of the insincerity of some people in government, their ingenuity and their non-commitment to getting these matters resolved, these issues have lingered. And again, as he has stated, these are the same issues we have been following up we have been advocating on for the past 8 months. So it brings us to the point where we have no choice than to resort to an industrial action. And as he has also stated, the doctors as well as their families are not immune to the consequences of this industrial action. But we have no choice than to resort to this industrial action because of the insensitivity and insincerity of people in government who reach agreement freely, sign agreement freely, and unfortunately are not ready to implement. At this point, we have had discussions with the National Assembly, which of course is not the first time we are getting to have a discussion with them. The problem is, will this agreement translate to possible positive outcome at the end of the day? That's the fear now, because of course if we have reached agreement, this is not the first time we are reaching agreements that never see the light of the day. So I'm sure this is one of the fears that my members will entertain when looking into the agreements and resolutions we have reached recently at the National Assembly to get this industrial action averted. So I don't know. I want to call on people in authority to please keep to their agreement. And we are not strike mongers. We just don't have any choice, because agreements will be reached freely and they will never be implemented. Even the Right Honorable Speaker was disappointed that these issues he had thought have been resolved since the agreements were reached. But unfortunately, they are persisting up to this moment.
Right. Now, the question is, before we go to Dr. Ogbonna, you have said that, I mean, the House of Reps jurisdiction is quite limited here because there are issues with state governments also. And while you're going to have that meeting with your executive later today, what is the plan to resolve those issues? Because it appears as though you are saying this has not been resolved just yet.
Yes, unfortunately, as I mentioned, the jurisdiction of the National Assembly to get the state governments to do the needful is limited. So therefore, the problems at the state institutions are persisting. So I don't know if there are any way that these state governments can be reached and contacted so that they can give our plights a consideration and get it addressed. So at this point, all we have at our disposal is to present this reality to our members, and I do hope that those are the state institutions and the federal institutions will put everything into consideration and take their decision on way forward.
So let's go to Dr. Ogbonna now and speak to him. Now, Honorable Sununu has talked about the National Assembly, the House of Reps, especially hitting the gavel hard on some of these issues so that we don't have a repeat of it. Dr. Sokomba has also said that associations of health professionals are not strike mongers, so it's not as though you always want to go on strike. And he's concerned that some of these issues need to be resolved at the state level. Now, Dr. Ogbonna, we don't look forward to NOAP, for example, saying in the next 14 days we will also go on strike. So help us avoid this pothole. At the meetings that we'll have at the National Assembly and other places that matter, what are your own issues that you want to be brought to the fore?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to advise strongly that the National Assembly should take all these issues holistically. You don't resolve that of NAD and leave that of NOAM or JOESU and other professional associations alone. You take everything up now that the iron is very hot. We have submitted so many of our demands in the past. For instance, the issue of obsolete equipments for us to work with. We have mentioned that structural and infrastructural issues, the issue of adjusted cohorts, that is the welfare package for our members. Can you imagine? Because we raised alarm that the health sector is in shambles and we declared a strike. Our April and May salary 2018 is still being held because we blew the whistle. Is it correct? So many of our members have suffered a lot of injury as a result of inappropriate equipment that are not up to date. So many of our members are in trouble now because that salary that had been withheld has placed some psychological demoralization on them. Then going forward, we want to say this, that in order to help the health sector work like in other device or other countries of the nation, you must know that when you are treating the system, you must take everybody on board. You don't do one for one group and leave the other. In as much as we are working as a team, that team spirit must be percolated to all and sundry. So I'm saying this, that the adjusted cohorts must be looked into, and the salaries of our members that have been withheld should be looked into. There are some of our members who are qualified consultants, but they have not been given that opportunity. They have not been given that opportunity to express their skills as consultants. It's important. Then coming around, looking at some other issues that are the cause of troubles in the health sector. The government also devises means of creating animosity among the team players, where there should not be animosity, by sending some circulars that can infringe on the rights of the other persons. For instance, we have a lot of various court judgments that are to the credit of the professional associations and unions in the health sector, but the government have refused to implement them. We don't know why. Instead, they'll be writing circulars that will cause acrimony in the system. That is not correct, and we do not expect the government to do such now. We have also raised the issue of looking at the isolation centers in our various facilities. Do we have the basic tools to work there, especially the protective equipment? Some of our people cannot really go there boldly to do what they want to do. We are just being very patriotic because of the average Nigerians that will suffer and that will die. And those who live in glass houses do not throw stone. We never can tell who may be involved. That's why we are taking our time. The NAD will go on strike anytime from now. But we are also sounding it to the government that the Nigerian Union of Allied Health Professionals, we are jostling and getting prepared for a showdown if these issues are not addressed.
Dr. Bona, don't warm up for practice. Just hang on. I think the country will want you to hold on. Don't warm up yet, because they will hope that all of these things will be addressed. Because even the NARD, Dr. Skomba, he's going to have a meeting with his team to see how they could hold the strike off. But let me bring in Honorable Sununu on this matter, on some of the issues that Dr. Bona has raised about the relationship amongst the health professionals. Many may be quick to forget, you're also a medical person yourself, and you do have experience and knowledge about some of these things. How would you suggest or advise that they handle and ensure that there's a very healthy relationship amongst all of those health unions, and not anybody trying to exploit any of those moving forward? Because you can't predict how states or the executive may relate with these health professionals across board.
Well, let me first of all thank my very close friend, Dr. Ogbina. We have been together in the struggle. I am just the past Secretary General of Nigerian Medical Association. So our struggle has been together all through. The issue is that the House has been proactive virtually to everybody. Let me cite, just in the last 10 days ago, we've received a notice by Jehesu of Federal Capital Territory, whose also oversight is also under the National Assembly, the House of Representatives. So immediately we received that you can ask and confirm from the Jehesu FCT chapter. I got that notice, and then in less than 24 hours, we summoned virtually all the stakeholders: finance, Accountant General Office, Budget Office, IPPIS, the FCT administration, just to see how we can resolve the issues. And to God be the glory that we have achieved so much. Almost more than up to 90% of the problems were addressed, and that strike was also abated. So this House has been proactive in every this thing. The issue of personal protective equipment that was also raised is not only meant for resident doctors. In fact, the House made commitment that it will donate its 2-month consecutive salaries. Now, that was followed up by a motion of urgent public importance, directing the PTF to use the contribution of the House to procure personal protective equipment. And that motion that I raised was unanimously adopted, and resolution was passed by the House, because we knew once you have scared soldiers in a battle war, definitely you know you are going to be defeated. Our prayers is that we should defeat COVID very soon. So we can only do that when we get our frontliners being protected. And even yesterday, the Speaker has repeated the same issue. So I quite agree that the Nigerian problem is so much. If you look at all the pillars of health in Nigeria, virtually needs reorganization. If you look at the administration, the administration itself, it needs a distinct. We have so many regulatory bodies, and luckily all those regulatory bodies were under the oversight of my function. We had wanted to create a harmonious working relationship. We are planning to organize a conference of all the regulatory bodies under the Ministry of Health before the COVID came, because we need to understand the working principle of Ministry of Health itself, so that let each regulatory bodies study its acts very well, understand its mandate, and then direct it's the associations and relevant unions under its offices to act within the mandate that establish them and guide their practice. Okay. When we do this, we also have the issue of harmony. And let me be also said that the issue of industrial harmony in the country is something that I consider as a very important issue. As the Secretary General then of Nigeria Medical Association, through my president, we tried to extend relationship. We first of all paid visit to the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, and then the Pharmaceutical Society. We are gradually extending that when our tenure came. And then when the immediate past administration also came, they built on that. And we encourage all other associations to look at it. What is most important in Nigerian healthcare delivery, if we want to succeed, we must be build it around centered around patient.
Honorable, just one moment. Just one moment.
Patient-centered care.
Honorable, the issue that you have just raised now is one that is very, very germane, and we've discussed it with the NMA as well, and hoping that they will find a way to collaborate, just as your tenure there began that conversation. I don't know how far it has gone, but another one that I think, you know, you may need to intervene one way or another is to the states, because one of the concerns that these two associations that we are interfacing with as well on this program have said is that even if the one at the federal level has been resolved, how about the states? Now, one of the functions of the members of the House of Representatives is representation. Is there any way your members can be persuaded to interface with their state governors who they represent at the National Assembly? Is there any way that can happen?
Even yesterday, the conclusion was that though the National Assembly has no jurisdiction over state, but the National Assembly will use its good relationship with certain state government to reach out to them. Let me say we had two meetings, I can say. After that meeting, we also have another review meeting, through which we agree the House can use its members. I'm coming from Kebbi State. I have a very good working relationship with my state governor and the government of Kebbi State. So if there are issues that has to do with Kebbi, not only I can use my capacity as chairman, I also use my personal relationship to see how I can reach out to His Excellency so that we can try to rub minds and those issues resolved. And virtually all of us coming from various states have that good relationship in most cases with their state governors. So we have agreed that we are going to use that as another distance. We can also directly reach our leaderships in the various state assemblies. For example, nothing stops us from reaching out to Kaduna State House of Assembly, Kogi State House of Assembly, Imo State House of Assembly, and let them resolve issues. And let me tell you also, even in state, there were certain times when there were issues. I used my personal relationship to call most of those state commissioners, and then I also informed the speaker, who also used his office and close working relationship with all the governors, and reach to them so that we can tell them the impact of what is likely to happen if it's not abated. So we are going to use those informal and formal ways to see how we can further prevent this, the healthcare from going down. But we all have to agree that really states are not under our jurisdictions. They have their own state assembly. They can make their own laws to guide the regulation of their activities. But nothing stops us from using our personal, informal and formal relationship to interfere, to advise and solicit for the understanding of those state governments and all the state governors, so that we can go at the same page. Because as we are now, if one state declares strike, others are working, likely chances are that more casualty will occur. We have more widespread of transmission of coronavirus, and there is no way you can say that state is not in contact with other states. People must move in and out.
Thank you very much indeed for your perspectives.
So we have to take it holistically, really.
Okay, we do thank you for your thoughts, and we hope that all of this is sorted. Honorable Yusuf Tanko Sununu, Chairman, House Committee on Health Services. Well, Dr. Ali Sokoba, pardon us, we had to allow Honorable speak a little further because we needed him to proffer solutions so you can hear a lot more as to what is expected of those ones. So, but Dr. Ali, we do thank you for your time as well, and we hope that the meeting you have with your members go well and hold up the strike. Well, Dr. Obin Ogbonna, thank you very much indeed as well for responding to us even on short notice. So we appreciate you all, and we wish you all the best. We will be back in a moment, everyone. Stay with us.